South Africa, a country we're hearing more and more about in the baseball world. Up until 15 years ago, we heard absolutely nothing about it. But because of their participation in international tournaments and their homegrown talent we can now find in professional baseball, this country is really making a name for itself in baseball in the 21st century. Baseball first appeared in South Africa in 1895 when gold miners arrived from the United States. The miners brought all the necessary equipment with them, built a diamond, and started playing games with the locals. 4 years later, an official league was set up. In 1904, the Transvaal Baseball Association was formed, the first provincial baseball body in the country. On Christmas Day of that year, there was a Washington Post article written about the new league, praising their hitting, but also noting their problems with fielding. By 1908, there was a 4-team league playing in and around Johannesburg, playing in front of crowds between 100 and 700 spectators. Someone involved with the league at the time wrote to then New York Yankees president Joe Gordon, boasting about their top-notch facilities. However, according to a Washington Post article in the same year, the South African baseball teams had to pay for the use of these fields, while teams from other, more established sports were playing at no cost. In 1930, a player from Transvaal moved to Natal province and brought the game with him. 1 year later, the first interprovincial game was played between Transvaal and Natal. Soon after, a number of other players from Transvaal moved to other parts of South Africa and spread the game to all parts of the country. In 1934, a Japanese ship was stuck in Port Elizabeth for 3 months. The sailors organized games with locals, and the game took off, eventually leading to the establishment of the Eastern Province Baseball Association in that same year. In 1935, the South African Baseball Federation, now known as the South African Baseball Union, was established, with 4 provinces as members. Provincial baseball matches during the 1930s included a number of South Africa's top athletes, among them Olympic gold medal hurdler Sid Atkinson, national team rugby player Jerry Brand, and several cricketers like South African national team captain JOCK Cameron. During World War II, unofficial games continued in Transvaal, but the game disappeared in other parts of the country. When the war ended, however, baseball came back stronger than ever. In 1945, 2 visiting U.S. Navy ships put together a team and played against a South African team of players from all provinces. The game reportedly drew 20,000 fans. In 1950, the Australian cricket team played against the South African baseball team in front of a crowd of 12,000. In 1952, the first national tournament was held in Cape Town and Johannesburg. In 1955, a team of American players toured South Africa. They were billed as an American All-Star team, but they were mostly college and amateur players, the exceptions being Brooklyn Dodgers players Don Thompson and Dick Stewart. This would be the height of baseball's popularity in South Africa. Like in so many other countries of the world, the sport went on the decline after the 1950s. Every country has their own reason for this, but no reason is given for baseball's decline in South Africa. I have a few guesses as to why it may have happened. We can see similarities between baseball in South Africa and baseball in Wales. In Wales, at the time, the sport was doing quite well, in large part because famous rugby players were playing baseball during their off-season. In later years, players' contracts prohibited them from playing any other sports competitively. The same thing may have happened in South Africa. Also, throughout the Commonwealth, the big 3 British sports became really big during this period. All other sports, not just baseball, got less attention. That's not to say that the game disappeared, it just faded into the background. Like all other sports at the time, baseball was segregated. As apartheid ended in 1994, the game spread out, even reaching the rural townships, resulting in a large increase in the number of players. In the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney, the South African baseball team competed for the first time. Australia usually represents the region, but with them automatically qualifying as host, South Africa was able to get in. In 2006 and 2009, they took part in the first and second editions of the World Baseball Classic. They didn't win any games in either classic, but in their first game in 2006, they held an 8-7 lead over Canada through 8 innings, before losing it in the 9th, 11-8. In the qualifier for the 2013 WBC, they beat France in extra innings, but lost to Spain and Israel and did not make it to the big tournament. In the 2017 qualifier, they beat New Zealand twice, but lost to Australia twice, and again did not qualify. Against the competition in Africa, they've been dominant. In the 2019 Africa Continental Cup, they beat Uganda, Burkina Faso, and Zimbabwe in round-robin play by a combined score of 52-4. In the semifinals, they blew past Burkina Faso 16-1 and crushed Uganda in the finals 28-0. Several baseball leagues are in operation in all provinces of South Africa. The most talented players in the country can be found in the Western Province Major League, a 10-team wooden bat league located around Cape Town. More than 3/4 of South Africa's 2009 WBC team came from this league, and many have gone on to play professional baseball in the United States and Europe. Not sure how this league ranks against other leagues of the world. One player named Tyrone Baglione played in this league and then went to the Czech Baseball Extraliga. He said that the hitting is very similar between the two leagues, but the pitching is much better in the Czech Republic. That interview is from 10 years ago though, so it might have changed since then. Baseball in South Africa has often been compared to that in Australia, though in recent years Australia has moved far ahead. In the early 90s, only 3 Australians were playing in the US minor leagues. Now there are over 100 playing in the US and Canada professionally. In the past 2 decades, over 20 Australians reached the major league level. That was a result of all the effort MLB has put into Australia in the past 3 decades. South Africa had not been shown the same kind of attention until recently. In 2011, the first Major League African Baseball Academy was held in Cape Town. Other academies have since opened in Johannesburg and Durban. 40 young athletes are chosen to attend, 20 from South Africa and 20 from the rest of the continent. South Africa holds its own mini-camp to choose the players that get to go to the MLB Academy. MLB has also contributed to the building of a new national training center in Cape Town and upgrading 4 fields in Johannesburg. This is important because most games are played on run-down cricket or rugby fields containing thick grass and no pitcher's mound. This has been blamed for the poor fielding seen from South African players in international competitions on proper fields. And from these efforts, they've seen some immediate results. In the last 4 years, 2 South African players have reached Major League Baseball, the first 2 ever from the African continent. The first one was infielder Gifton Gope. Quite a story here. His mother worked as a clubhouse attendant for a local team, the Randburg Mets. It was in the clubhouse of the team's makeshift baseball field where Gift and his parents slept every night, so he literally grew up on a baseball field. As a teenager, he was invited to the MLB Academy in Italy, and in 2008, at the age of 18, he was signed by the Pittsburgh Pirates, becoming only the 6th South African to sign a professional baseball contract. On the 26th of April 2017, he debuted for the big league team, becoming the first athlete from the African continent to play in Major League Baseball. Because of time differences, this occurred on the 27th of April in his home country, which is the national holiday known as Freedom Day. His MLB career did not last long, 28 games in 2017 with the Pirates and 13 games in 2018 with the Blue Jays, but his impact was huge. He spent the last 3 winters in the Australian Baseball League. In 2019, Taylor Scott became the first pitcher from South Africa to play in MLB, when he debuted for the Seattle Mariners. He split that season between the Mariners and Orioles, and spent the 2020 season with the Hiroshima Carp of NPB. Another player worth mentioning is 28-year-old starting pitcher Dylan Unsworth from Durban. He's reached the AAA level in the Seattle Mariners organization, spent 2 winters in the Venezuelan League and 2 winters in the Australian League. Presently he is signed with Pericos de Puebla of the Mexican Summer League. Several other South African players can be found throughout the minor leagues. Baseball hasn't had any success in the neighboring countries. It has taken off in some further away countries like Uganda, but the competition there is well below South Africa's level. There's been talk of starting a professional league, though it's just in the talking stage at this point. South Africa's population is 59 million. That's more than double Australia's population, and about the same as Italy. And there are an estimated 250,000 players in adult and youth leagues combined, so a 6 to 10 team professional league seems very realistic. This would preferably be a winter league so that homegrown athletes that play in the major league system could go home to play for the winter, and eventually could lead to a cross-Indian Ocean championship between the winners of the South African and Australian leagues. This country's got a lot of potential, and time will tell what they make of it. You will be hearing a lot more about South African baseball in the future. That's all for this one, and until next time, this is Baseball International. See ya.